In the fall of 1978, my husband, a former sent-down youth named Michael Scott, was said to have died in an accident on his way to work. His body never found. I was in my early 20s then. After crying until I could cry no more, I gritted my teeth and took on the responsibility of caring for his widowed mother and his younger siblings. His younger brother and sister were both accepted into top universities and eventually settled down in the city. Even his mother, who once broke her leg in an accident, was nursed back to health by me through feeding, cleaning, and helping her walk again. But me, I wasn't even 40 yet, and my hair had already turned completely white. My body had withered like cracked jade, and I was diagnosed with a terminal illness. I didn't want to die. Dragging my broken body, I went into the city, hoping that the younger brother and sister-in-law I had practically raised with my own hands would come up with a way to help me. But to my shock, both Amy Scott and Eric Scott turned me away when I begged for help. While wandering the streets, waiting for death, I unexpectedly saw my husband, the man I thought had long been dead. He was wearing a suit and tie, looking sharp and full of confidence. His arm wrapped around Lily Wu, another sent-down youth. It was then that I realized Michael had never died. He had faked his death just to get rid of me, a country bumpkin. He only wanted to exploit my labor to support his whole family. Consumed by rage, I lit a fire and sent them all to hell. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to 20 years earlier. What I hadn't expected was that Michael and his entire family had also been reborn. This time they wanted even more, but I was ready for them. At 20, Michael Scott was undeniably handsome. He was widely recognized as the most attractive man in all the nearby villages. His face made countless young girls lose sleep. But his family was dirt poor. He had a sickly widowed mother and 2 younger siblings. Michael, the eldest, was the only one capable of working. The others were just mouths to feed. In those days, when survival depended on earning work points through manual labor, good looks couldn't put food on the table. So despite his charm, the girls who once admired his face backed off the moment they saw how poor his family was. I was the only one foolish enough not to care about his poverty or that his family was a heavy burden. I truly, deeply loved Michael. I followed him everywhere, helped his family cut wood and gather grass. His mother couldn't work the fields, so once I finished my own chores, I helped them with theirs too. I even gave them the work points I had earned with my own hard labor. His family had no rice, no flour, no cooking, no salt. I hauled supplies from my own home, even if it meant getting scolded or going hungry. Myself, I gave so much to Michael's family without expecting anything in return. He was never particularly kind to me, nor was he cruel. He accepted everything I brought and let me help, but never once said he liked me or wanted to be with me. My father, the team leader in our village, warned me. He told me Michael wasn't a good man, that he was only stringing me along for what I could offer. He urged me to stop wasting my feelings on him, but I didn't listen. Blinded by love, I kept chasing after him just as before. Finally, on the 300th day of chasing him, one evening when I brought eggs to his house, Michael hugged me. That night he made me his woman. Becoming his woman had always been my dream. I thought he had finally recognized how good I was, that all my suffering had finally paid off. Little did I know, Michael had never liked me at all. He only agreed to be with me because the woman he truly loved, Lily Wu, had rejected his confession. All along it had been Lily Wu he loved. She was a soft-spoken, cultured girl from the city, sent down to the countryside like him. She was rumored to be preparing for college. Even while working the fields, Michael also planned to take the college entrance exams. They had common goals and naturally grew closer. Lily liked him too. But the moment she saw his burden of a family, she backed out. Michael expressed his feelings to her multiple times. At first she strung him along, but eventually she firmly rejected him. Devastated, he settled for me out of spite. In my past life, after he used me up, I wholeheartedly slaved away for his family. I did everything for them. Not only did I labor for them, I dragged my parents into it too. They worked like beasts of burden for his family as well. Michael never lifted a finger. He focused entirely on his studies, and eventually got into college when the exams were reinstated. I foolishly believed I had chosen a capable man. I supported him through college with everything I worked myself to the bone back in the countryside, earning money and work points, while my parents helped look after his family. And what did he do? He rekindled his romance with Lily Wu at university. He used the money I had worked so hard to earn to buy her clothes, food and gifts. After graduating, he and Lily Wu were assigned jobs in the city together. Michael Scott never saw me as worthy, but they didn't want to lose someone like me. Someone who had been giving her all for their family, in order to keep using me like a beast of burden to keep me caring for his frail mother and raising his younger siblings. Michael Scott shamelessly came up with the plan to fake his own death. He wanted me to give myself entirely to their family without hesitation or suspicion. His fake death, his mother, his brother and his sister were all in on it. Every single one of them helped Michael deceive me. That entire family wasn't just ungrateful. They were worse than animals. When I came back to life, I was carrying a large sack of flour, walking along the narrow path through the fields toward Michael's house. My foot slipped and I fell hard to the ground. Lying there, I stared at my surroundings in disbelief. Once I confirmed that I was truly back 20 years in the past, I started crying and laughing like a fool. Then I stood up, hoisted the sack of flour back onto my shoulders and turned around, back toward my own home. Let the Scots dream on if they thought they'd be eating the flour I used to give them for free. From that moment on, they wouldn't get a single grain of rice or drop of water from me. When my parents saw me return with the flour, dirty from the fall, they were surprised. My dad, clearly annoyed, asked why I was back. "Didn't you say the Scots had nothing to eat and you were bringing this to them?" "Dad, Mom," I said, "I've thought it through. There's no future for me and Michael. Starting now, I won't pine for him anymore, and I'm done sending anything to his family." For a moment, joy flashed through my parents' eyes, though they didn't seem fully convinced. "You're not just saying that, are you?" my dad asked skeptically. "I mean it," I said solemnly. "I swear, if I ever have even the tiniest lingering feelings for Michael Scott again, may I die a terrible death." My parents were overjoyed at my transformation. They grabbed my hands and kept asking why I'd suddenly come to my senses. Of course, I couldn't explain that I had lived another life and now knew that the entire Scott family were thankless leeches. I just told them I'd finally woken up and didn't want anything more to do with someone like Michael, someone who had nothing to offer. Since I had made up my mind to cut ties, I had to start by severing everything connected to them. First and foremost, my work points. In my last life, all my work points were given to the Scott family, while I shamelessly ate from what my parents had earned. This time, there was no way I would hand over the fruits of my labor to that ungrateful bunch. I suddenly remembered that this month's work points hadn't yet been credited to the Scotts. In a panic, I rushed out to find the village accountant. The accountant was busy calculating work points when I ran in, sweating. "Uncle Lee, my points, they haven't been assigned yet, right?" He looked up. "Just about to be. They're going to the Scots. They only worked about 10 days this month, 4 mouths to feed and only 10 days of labor. That won't cut it. That family really sees you as their workhorse." Then he added, looking at me with frustration, "I don't get it. What did you ever see in Michael Scott? Just his face. Can a pretty face fill your stomach?" Uncle Lee had always been close to my parents. His disappointment was clear. "Uncle Lee," I said immediately, "from now on, my work points belong to me. None of them go to the Scott family. He stared at me eyes wide. Are you serious? You're not joking. I'm not. I was confused before, but I've cleared my head now. I'm done playing savior. Hearing that, Uncle Lee looked so relieved. It's about time. I'm telling you, you better not go back on this. I won't. Even if I die, I won't. With the matter of the work points settled, I finally felt at ease and headed home. As I passed the reeds near the village creek, I heard a soft, excited voice from inside the reeds. Michael, you came back too. That's wonderful. That delicate, girlish voice made me freeze in my tracks. I crept slowly toward the reeds. The countryside was dark at night, but I could just make out two silhouettes standing inside. I'm back, Michael said. Lily, I thought only you followed me here. I didn't expect our whole family to come back. This is insane. Why did we have to return to this poor, miserable era? We were just starting to enjoy a good life in our last one. Michael sounded furious as he complained. And who the hell was? He growled. That set fire to our house. If I ever find out who did it, I would never let him off the hook for what happened in our past lives. After I found out that Michael Scott and his family had deceived me, I waited for a dark, windy night. I crept to their house, locked the door from the outside, and set the place on fire. I listened to their screams as the flames swallowed them whole, their cries of agony, their desperate pleas as they died. Then I drank the rat poison I had long prepared and ended my own life. So when Michael and his family died, they never even knew I was the one who did it. Now I heard Lily Wu's voice chiming in, complaining too. Yeah, if we were really being given a second chance, why couldn't we have returned to the start of our good days? Just thinking about the heavy labor in the countryside. Again, having to pinch every penny and study for the college entrance exams. I'm so annoyed. Michael replied, there's nothing we can do about that, but since we're here, we need to start planning now. We're going to use that idiot Jody again, just like before, and get a head start this. Yes, Lily agreed. We'll use that dumb girl Jody like last time. I'll string her along. Just like before, let her family help with the chores, let her earn the work points for us. And when the time comes, we'll make her do your share too. You and I will focus on studying for the exams. Nothing will get in our way. We'll get even better scores than last time. 2. Filthy traders were completely in sync as they plotted to exploit me again. Hearing it all, I let out a cold, silent laugh. I hadn't expected that Michael Scott and Lily Wu had also been reborn, and the first thing they thought of upon returning was how to use me again. You shameless scumbags, just wait. I picked up a few stones and hurled them straight at them. I didn't hold back. Stones hitting a body in the dark are no joke. Both Michael and Lily yelped in pain in the pitch black of night, hiding out in the reeds. They never saw it coming. Michael was in so much pain he wanted to scream for help, but I acted first. I pinched my throat and called out in a weird, exaggerated voice. Hey, someone's messing around in the reeds. Catch the shameless couple sneaking around, somebody come quick. My high-pitched, mocking cries soon brought the village patrol over. Who's messing around back there? Michael and Lily were terrified. In these times, getting caught fooling around before marriage was serious business. And since they still planned to use me as their personal slave again, they definitely didn't want their relationship exposed. Panicking, they tried to run through the reeds, but in their rush, they lost their footing and fell right into the river. In the middle of winter, falling into that icy water was no joke. They flailed and struggled until the patrol dragged them out, soaked and shivering, and took them away for questioning. As for me, the mastermind behind it all, I strolled home, thoroughly pleased with myself. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how I deal with the entire Scott family from here on out. I didn't doze off until the second half of the night. But just as I was finally drifting off, loud banging woke me. Someone was pounding on the door. Jody, Jody, are you home? came the shrill voice of Linda Chen, Michael's mother. I got up slowly and opened the door. And there it was, that familiar, revolting face. Linda must not have known that Michael had been taken in by the patrol last night. She'd waited all night for the flour I was supposed to deliver, and when it didn't come, got desperate. With no rice left to cook, she showed up at my door herself. Wearing a fake smile, she said, "Jody, we're out of rice at home. You promised to bring us a sack of flour." Leaning lazily on the doorframe, I replied, "Flour? Oh right. I did say I'd bring some. But my mom gave it to my aunt yesterday instead." The moment she realized the flour was gone, Linda's face dropped. "Then what are we supposed to eat?" The entitlement in her tone made my blood boil. I wanted to slap her right then and there. "It's your own damn food." I clenched my fists to hold myself back. Just then my mom returned with a cloth bag in hand. When she heard Linda's question, her face turned cold. "What you eat has nothing to do with our Jody," Linda stammered. "But didn't Jody say?" "What did Jody say?" My mom snapped. "What does our Jody owe your Scott family?" Huh. I've never seen such shameless people in my life. No hands, no feet. Don't know how to work. Just know how to beg for free food. Every time my mom saw someone from Michael's family, her anger spiked. She spat toward Linda. "Pa, you disgust me. Your whole family's full of poison. There's not a single decent person in your whole family." My mom snapped. "Your son was caught last night fooling around and is being interrogated by the patrol. And instead of figuring out how to get him out, you actually have the nerve to come to our house begging Jody for food." "What? Michael was caught?" Linda Chen stood there stunned. She knew full well that Michael had gone out last night with Lily Wu. Their whole family was aware that the two had been secretly getting closer. It was obvious they'd slept together. But Linda wasn't worried about that. What she was worried about was the fact that there was no rice left to cook. She had planned to wait until Michael came back to figure things out. But hunger was too much to bear, so she came knocking on my door instead. She never expected to hear that Michael had been taken away by the patrol. Panic took over. She completely forgot about asking for food and turned around to run back home. Behind her, my mom raised her voice, shouting, "I'm warning you people. Stay away from my daughter. If I ever catch you tricking Jody into giving you food again, I swear I'll make you pay." After chasing off Linda, she turned to me and gave my head a firm poke. "Let me tell you, Michael Scott got caught with that Lily Wu messing around last night. He's no good. He stay away from that whole family." I hugged my mom, beaming. "I know, Mom. Stuff like that won't happen anymore. You're amazing. Next time Linda shows up, just yell at her again for me. Not just her. If anyone from that Scott family comes looking for me, you and Dad both need to help me chase them off." Seeing how much I had changed, my mom was overjoyed. "Don't worry, if that blood-sucking family dares to cling to you again, I'll beat the crap out of them." Michael and Lily were held by the patrol all night. After over 10 hours of questioning, they refused to admit to anything improper. They claimed it was just a coincidence that they were both there. Since the patrol had no concrete evidence, they had no choice but to release them, but not without punishment. They were both given double the labor as reform through hard work. Michael and Lily were already struggling to keep up with their workload while trying to study for the college entrance exams. They had hoped to rely on me again, just like before, to carry the burden for them. But now, with twice the work assigned, it was a nightmare. Naturally, Michael thought of me. The moment he was released, he came looking for me. In my past life, I was the one always chasing after Michael while he kept his distance and acted like he was too good for me. But this time things were different. His family had no food. He had mountains of labor ahead of him. He had no choice but to come to me for help. At the time I was at home, enjoying a steaming bowl of ribs that had been simmering for 3 hours thanks to my mom. My mouth was full of flavor when Michael appeared. I wasn't the least bit surprised. He looked at the bowl of ribs in my hand, his throat visibly swallowing. "Jody," he said, "can you help me?" No, I cut him off before he could even finish. "Didn't you love sneaking around with Lily Wu?" Said loud and clear. "Then go keep doing that. What are you coming to me for?" "No, Jody. It's not." He tried to explain. "Oh please," I sneered. "You got caught by the patrol, locked up all night, and you're still pretending nothing happened. Do you think I'm stupid?" I looked him straight in the eye. "Let me make this clear, Michael Scott. Don't come looking for me. I, Jody Young, am not that pathetic." Michael had never been spoken to like that by me before. His face darkened and he stormed off angrily. I watched him leave and laughed coldly to myself. "Still got your pride, huh? Let's see how long that pride lasts." It didn't even last 3 hours. That afternoon, Linda Chen went to the village accountant to settle the work points and found out that mine had been withdrawn. They weren't getting anything from me anymore. Furious, she threw a fit, yelling at Uncle Lee and demanding that he give my points to their family. After being scolded by Uncle Lee, Linda finally realized how serious the situation was. 10 days' worth of work points wasn't nearly enough to feed 4 people. They had gotten used to living well under my support. Now suddenly they were back to eating coarse cornbread and wild greens every meal without a trace of oil or meat for a whole month. Anyone would go crazy. If this had been the previous version of Linda's family, back when they were used to suffering, maybe they could have toughed it out. But this Linda, this whole Scott family had come back from a life of comfort. They weren't used to hardship anymore. They didn't want to suffer. So naturally, they had to come beg me. Linda came to my door first, her voice full of forced sweetness. "Jody, sweetheart, I swear Michael and Lily have nothing going on," Linda Chen said. "Don't believe the rumors out there." "Oh really?" I raised an eyebrow. "You're sure there's absolutely nothing between them?" "Absolutely nothing," she insisted. Linda had clearly brought Michael along with her, and right behind them, those 2 heartless leeches, Sophie Scott and Ryan Scott, eagerly nodded in agreement. "Jody," Sophie chimed in sweetly, "my brother would never be into someone like Lily Wu. The person he's always liked is you." I let out a cold laugh. All these lies just for a little food. I didn't believe them for a second. "If there really isn't anything between them," I said, arms crossed, eyes narrowed, "then let them come tell me that themselves. I want to hear it from both Michael and Lily." Michael obviously didn't want to humble himself in front of me, but the reality was they couldn't keep relying on my charity to survive. I'd cut off all help. No food, no labor, nothing. That meant Linda had no choice but to drag Sophie and Ryan into the fields to earn work points. Linda's health wasn't great and she moved slowly. Sophie and Ryan had never done a day of labor in their lives. Following Linda to the fields, they either complained of exhaustion or hunger. The 3 of them together couldn't even earn half the work points a normal person. Meanwhile, Michael was stuck with double the workload and Lily had her own assignments to deal with. They had always depended on me to pick up the slack. There was no way they could spare the energy to help each other now. After just a few days, they were all utterly miserable. When people get used to living a good life, they can't bear going back to hardship. Unable to endure it any longer, they held a family meeting behind closed doors one night. Michael, Ryan and Sophie said in unison, "You have to go talk to Jody. If you don't, we're going to work ourselves to death." Michael looked at Lily, still a bit reluctant. "Lily, what do you think?" Even she had had enough. "Let's go see Jody," she said. "I can't take this anymore. I don't want to work. I just want to get by without lifting a finger." These shameless leeches had only one plan left: to manipulate me again. So Michael and Lily came to find me. It had only been a few days, but Michael looked like a different man, pale, thin, and exhausted. There was even a large bump on his head from when I had thrown that rock at him. Lily didn't look much better. Days of heavy labor had darkened her skin and left her gaunt, not a trace of the beauty and elegance she had flaunted in her past life. Michael, clearly humiliated, forced himself to apologize. "Jody," he said, "Lily and I are here to clear the air. There really isn't anything between us." Lily quickly followed up. "It was just a misunderstanding. I fell into the river by accident. Michael helped pull me out. People must have gotten the wrong idea." "Oh," I raised an eyebrow. "Because that's not what everyone else is saying. I heard people saw you sneaking around late at night, even kissing." "That's all nonsense," Michael blurted. "Jody, you can't listen to those gossiping busybodies." He was getting desperate, rambling through his excuses. I sighed and said flatly, "Whether you and Lily have something going on or not, it doesn't concern me. You don't owe me an explanation. After all, we're just from the same village. Nothing more." That clearly wasn't what Michael wanted to hear. His face tightened and he shamelessly continued, "Jody, I mean it. I really do like you." I laughed mockingly. "Oh, that's rich. Especially when Lily's standing right next to you." "Are you sure you like me?" "I do," he insisted. "I've always liked you." "Then swear it," I said, not backing down. "Swear it in front of Lily, right?" "Well, if you're lying, may you be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. If you and Lily do have something going on, may the two of you never have children and never recover in this life." Michael's face turned stiff. Of course he didn't want to swear. But at this point, he had committed to the act. There was no turning back. So, gritting his teeth, he muttered, "I swear I have nothing going on with Lily Wu. If I'm lying, may I be struck by lightning and die. Terrible death." "Good," I said with a smile, then turned to Lily, who was visibly uncomfortable. "Your turn, Miss Wu." Lily also mumbled a poisonous oath, reluctantly repeating the same harsh words. My expression finally softened. "Michael," I said calmly, "if you really like me, then find someone to come to my house and formally propose." Michael clearly hadn't expected that. "What?" he stammered. "Just a proposal." I said, "What's the problem? You can't even do that much. Don't tell me you're trying to trick me again. My parents already said you're no good." I told Michael coldly, "You never liked me. You just wanted to use me. Unless you send someone to formally propose marriage at my house, I'll never believe a word you say." Michael knew I wasn't backing down. But he wasn't about to give up either. Not when he was still hoping I'd work like a mule for his family like I did in our past life. And especially not when he was planning to fake his death again after getting into college and run off with Lily Wu. So he made a quick decision. "Don't worry, Jody," he said. "I'll send someone. I'll find someone to propose. Right away. I'll marry you." And just like that, the arrangement was made. Michael sent a matchmaker to my house to officially propose. My parents didn't object. They accepted the proposal. But they had conditions. If I were going to marry Michael, they said it wouldn't be for free. After raising me all these years, they weren't about to just hand me over with nothing in return. They demanded Michael's family show real sincerity. They even made it public. Whatever bride price the Scotts gave, my parents would match it with double the dowry. That announcement immediately set the Scott family scheming again. In our last life, after Lily rejected Michael, he'd forced himself on me out of spite. I foolishly gave myself to him, and then Linda Chin loudly spread the news of my shame. She humiliated beyond words, and with no bride price to my name. I moved into their house without a wedding. My parents were furious and didn't speak to me for a long time. I slaved away for the Scotts for 2 whole years, before my parents finally softened and lent me some help. Michael remembered all of that. He knew that without my parents' support, life would be incredibly hard. So when he heard that my parents were offering double the dowry, his whole family started drooling over it. They quickly put their heads together, and Linda began going around borrowing money to gather the bride price. Given the Scotts' terrible reputation, no one would have lent them anything under normal circumstances. But because the bride was me, people gave Michael's family a little face for the sake of my parents. Somehow, Linda and Michael managed to scrape together a decent amount of money and brought it to our house. Worried my parents might change their minds, they brought a whole parade of people and made a grand show of delivering the bride price, so loud and flashy that the entire village knew about it. Right in front of everyone, my dad made Michael swear that he would never betray me. He even invited respected elders to witness the vow. The terms were clear. If Michael's family betrayed me, they wouldn't get a single coin of the bride price back. The Scotts thought that once the proposal went through, I would finally give in and start helping. But once again they were wrong. I used the excuse that I had injured my leg and stayed in bed, refusing to go out at all. Not only did I offer them no help, but their debts were piling up, and they were sinking fast. And it wasn't just the Scotts who were struggling, Lily Wu was too. In my previous life, I never went after Lily. She was good at pretending and managed to live pretty comfortably in the village. But this time, after her scandal with Michael was exposed, people treated her differently. They rolled their eyes at her, talked behind her back, and shoved all the hardest, dirtiest jobs her way. Lily had been hoping Michael would convince me to give her an easy job like a scorekeeper. But after our engagement was announced, she didn't just lose that hope. Her workload got even worse. Exhausted and miserable, Lily finally broke and went to Michael to talk. The two of them couldn't afford to meet openly, so they snuck around again, this time avoiding the reed field where they'd been caught last time. Instead they chose the bamboo grove behind the mountain. To be cautious, Michael went up the mountain first to scout the area. Once it was clear, they agreed Lily would imitate a bird call. If Michael responded with the same sound, it meant it was safe. When Lily arrived, she called out with 2 soft bird chirps. Michael responded and she ran happily toward him. She had only taken a couple of steps when a sudden gust of wind swept past her. Something heavy struck her on the back of the head. Lily collapsed without a sound. Michael, waiting up the hill, grew impatient when she didn't arrive, and came down to check. As he stepped into the clearing, he heard the same whistling wind and felt a sharp pain at the back of his head. He crumpled to the ground. They both woke up to the sound of commotion around them. Opening their eyes, they realized they were tied up, hands and feet bound tightly. Michael was wearing nothing but his underwear, and Lily had only a thin coat draped over her body. All around them were murmurs and gasps from a crowd of villagers. The loudest voice came from the village militia captain. "I knew something was off with these two," he said. "Ever since we caught them fooling around in the reeds, I've been keeping an eye on them. And tonight I saw them again, half naked, hugging in the woods. Right then and there, I ordered them tied up." "Oh my God, they really were fooling around," someone gasped. "Didn't Michael already propose to Jody? How could he do something this shameless? I've been saying all along something was off between them, but no one believed me." Well, caught in the act side by side. Does Jody even know about this? She probably doesn't. For Jody, she gave everything to the Scott family, helped them work, gave them her work points, brought food and supplies. Her whole heart's been with Michael, and now after getting engaged, this is how he treats her. She's gonna want to die from the shame. "Pa, disgusting pigs, if you like each other so much, be open about it. What's with all the sneaking around? They're clearly just using Jody, it's so gross." The villagers surrounding them were furious, spitting at Michael Scott and Lily Wu. Michael tried to defend himself. "It's not what it looks like," but someone cut him off. "You can stop right there. The facts are all laid out. You think you can lie your way out of this? Someone go get Jody. Let's hear what she wants to do." As the crowd murmured, I stepped forward, hair loose and eyes blazing. When Michael saw me, his first instinct was to speak. "Jody, it's not what you think." But I didn't wait for his excuses. I stormed forward and began beating him with all the rage I had pent up. You lied to me, Michael. You said you had nothing to do with Lily. You swore to me. You two-faced bastard. You deserve this. Michael couldn't even fight back. I didn't hold back. For a second. In no time, blood was running from his nose and mouth as he howled in pain. The villagers, honest folks, hated cheaters and manipulators like Michael more than anything. Not what one person stopped me. In fact, someone even handed me a stick. Here, hit him harder. Lifetimes of anger came flooding out, and I wasn't going to waste the chance. Just as I was fully in the moment, Linda Chen came rushing over with Sophie and Ryan. The second she saw Michael, covered in blood, she let out a wail and tried to stop me. My poor son Jody, why are you hitting my son? Stop it. You've got the nerve to cry. Someone barked at her. Look at Michael and Lily. You really don't get it. That whole family's trash, another chimed in. They're clearly in on it together, trying to use Jody like a servant. What? They thought she'd slave away for them forever. Only a naive girl like Jody would fall for Michael's pretty face. What else has he got going for him? Hearing all this, I turned and grabbed Linda by the arm. You all knew about Michael and Lily sneaking around. So why did you still come to my house to propose? You just wanted to use me to work for your family, to bring you rice and flour. Before Linda could say a word, I threw my head back and cried out loud and raw. You Scots are vile. You used up all my work points, ate all my food, and it was all a lie. All of it. I'm done. I want to call off the engagement. I don't care what it takes. Just then my parents arrived in a rush. Not only is this engagement over, my dad shouted, but the Scott family needs to return everything they took from Jody. Every point, every grain of rice, every drop of oil. That's right, someone in the crowd agreed. Think you can treat people like this? Unforgivable. They've got to return everything Jody ever gave. I knew there was something fishy about how eager they were to bring that bride price. Turns out they just wanted Jody's dowry. Keep dreaming. Another villager shouted. Michael cheats behind her back, and now they think they'll get to keep the bride price. Hell no. In fact, they owe her every last thing she gave them over the past 2 years. Exactly. Pay it back. Every last bit. And don't think Lily gets off easy either. Someone shouted. From the back. She knew Michael was engaged to Jody, but she still went behind her back. There needs to be consequences. The whole crowd was boiling with righteous anger, calling for punishments against Michael Scott and Lily Wu. I saw the hopelessness in both of their eyes. They'd come into this life with their plan all mapped out. Use me again, have me carry their burdens, while they studied and went on to the best universities. But now, with public disgrace and formal punishments on their records, they could kiss those dreams goodbye. Everything was unfolding exactly the way I had planned. That very day, I went straight to the village secretary and the accountant carrying the account book, and headed to Michael Scott's house to settle the score. Everything Michael's family had taken from me in the past 2 years, every single work point, was clearly recorded. There was no way they could deny it. I had only one demand. They had to return every last work point that belonged to me. They had to give back every bit of grain, oil, rice, and flour I had ever delivered to them. My request wasn't excessive, and all the villagers knew it. Everyone had seen with their own eyes how I'd been used, and they all condemned the Scott family. They scolded them for being shameless and ungrateful. With no way out, the Scott family had to return everything I'd ever given them. The bride price they had scraped together so painstakingly, well, that couldn't be taken back. That's an unspoken rule in the countryside. Since it was Michael who cheated with Lily Wu, the fault lay entirely with him. He had no right to reclaim anything he said to my house. Michael's family suffered a huge loss. Things had already been bad, but now they were far worse. Michael was still bedridden from the beating I gave him, lying there for days, bruised and bloodied. Meanwhile, anything in the Scott household that could be moved was rightfully taken back by my parents. Outside, they were drowning in debt, and the pressure to repay it was mounting. Everyone in the family was miserable. Michael, still not fully recovered, lay in bed burning with shame and regret. "This isn't how it was supposed to go," he muttered bitterly. "Where did it all go wrong?" Sophie and Ryan, those two spiteful siblings, started blaming Michael and Lily. "This is all your fault, Michael," Sophie snapped. "Why did you sneak off to see Lily? Didn't even do that in the last life. If you hadn't messed things up, we'd still be living easy. Now everything's ruined. You two are completely responsible." And what could Michael do to take responsibility? Nothing. The scandal had already been recorded in both his and Lily's personal files. Any dream they had of getting into a top university was now just that, a dream. He was furious, but all he could do was stew in helpless rage. The Scotts, already just a family of widows and orphans, had no influence in the village to begin with. Now, after offending my family and racking up so much debt, they had creditors knocking at their door day and night. Faced with the mounting pressure, Michael had no choice but to throw himself into labor to pay it off. But he only had 2 hands, and word of his scandal had spread. No one in the village wanted to help. People avoided him like the plague. And it wasn't just Michael. Linda, Sophie, and Ryan were all looked down on. They were assigned the heaviest, dirtiest work. The food they got was barely enough to keep them alive. With all the debt they owed, everything they earned went straight to repayment. Their days were sheer misery. But Linda, Sophie, and Ryan couldn't take it. They had believed that being reborn meant returning to better days. Instead, they were stuck in a life worse than before. Couldn't accept it. Fights and screaming came from the Scott household nearly every other day. So loud it shook the village. Everyone would rush over to watch the show. The disaster within the Scott family didn't stay contained. It spread to Lily Wu. Apart from Michael, everyone in the Scott family blamed her for their misery. After all, in the previous life, she had turned Michael down. But in this one, she had been secretly meeting with him even after he got engaged to me. Sophie and Ryan spit at Lily whenever they saw her. Linda hurled obscenities at her, vulgar and cruel. But no matter how vicious their insults were, it didn't change a thing. Sophie and Ryan were rotten to the core. Sure, they had young faces, but their minds were decades old. They knew exactly what was happening now. Michael would never get the successful life he had in the last one. But they still wanted to. They still wanted a good life. So, for the sake of their own futures, the 2 little beasts came up with a wicked plan and offered Michael a disgusting suggestion. "Michael, look at your situation. It's hopeless now," Ryan said. "But Jody still has feelings for you. Why don't you just sleep with her? Once it happens, she'll be obsessed with you. Again, just like before. She'll stick with you no matter what. That'll make things easier on you. And we can go back to school." "Don't worry," Sophie added. "Once we're back on top, we won't forget what you did for us." Linda agreed. "That's the only way. Jody's still in love with your face. She's always been easy to fool." Michael frowned. "But Lily, she's supposed to be my wife. How could I do that to her?" "Lily," Linda sneered. "What good is she now? She can't work, and her chances at school are done. Marrying her would just add another mouth to feed. Can you afford that? You really want to keep slaving away like this?" Sophie asked. "This is your chance." Michael didn't want to admit it, but he was still emotionally attached to Lily. He didn't want to betray her, but his mother and siblings kept pushing, one after the other, hammering it into him. When they saw he was still hesitating, the 3 of them finally lost their patience. They might have supported his relationship with Lily in the last life, but that was when Lily was still the smart, graceful girl who had a bright future ahead. This Lily. This one was nothing but a burden. She used to be a college student with a Bright future and a good job, Linda said. Now Lily has nothing. Why should our family let her drag us down? The three of them, Linda, Sophie, and Ryan, put their heads together and quickly came up with a plan. They couldn't let Lily Wu continue being a burden to their family, so they decided she had to be taken care of. The three of them plotted a setup. Ryan was the one sent to lure Lily, telling her that Michael wanted to meet her at the abandoned temple at the edge of the village to discuss their future. Lily had been having a rough time. Not only was she being targeted by the Scott family, but the other villagers treated her with open disdain. Her reputation was ruined, and her dreams of going back to the city to study were long gone. The only hope she had left was that Michael would take responsibility for her. After all, she genuinely loved that face of his. But the Scott family had been blocking her at every turn, keeping her away from Michael. Now, with this sudden chance to see him, she was overjoyed, convinced they were finally going to talk about getting married. Instead, when she arrived at the run-down temple, it wasn't Michael waiting there. It was old Lee, a 40-something local bachelor, known for his luscious ways. Lily tried to run, but old Lee wasn't about to let this opportunity slip away. He grabbed her. She struggled with all her might, but she was too weak. The temple was far from the village, and even if she screamed, no one would hear. And just like that, old Lee overpowered her, but that wasn't the end of it. Right after the act, a crowd showed up. Dozens of villagers drawn by the noise. Old Lee boldly claimed Lily had seduced him. Then he pulled grain coupons out of her pocket, and people even found candy and pastries had supposedly given her at her house. Course, Lily denied everything. She cried and shouted, insisting it had all been a setup, that Ryan had told her to come there to meet Michael. But Ryan denied it all. Michael also feigned confusion, claiming he never told anyone to arrange a meeting. With no witnesses and only Lily's frantic accusations, her defense was weak and easily dismissed. No one believed her. On the contrary, old Lee's story sounded plausible. He'd been seen helping Lily with her chores, bringing her cooked meals to the villagers. It looked like she had been cozying up to him in exchange for food and favors. Lily's reputation took another catastrophic hit. Then old Lee had the audacity to send someone to propose marriage. Lily flatly refused, but in this era, a woman whose reputation had been ruined didn't have the luxury of saying no. She had already crossed that line with him. Who else would ever want her? Michael was there when it all happened. He saw it with his own eyes. His beloved Lily pinned under old Lee, exposed and humiliated. In front of half the village, his heart sank to rock bottom. He had loved Lily deeply, but the memory of her being disgraced like that was something he couldn't get past. He had loved the pure, untouchable Lily Wu, but now the image of her with old Lee was seared into his mind. His own reputation was also in tatters. No one in the village wanted anything to do with him anymore. Michael had two options: marry Lily Wu, now tainted in his eyes and ruined in everyone else's, or turned his attention back to me. He used to think I was just a dumb country girl only good for labor. But now my hard work looked more and more like a rare strength. If he could just get me to marry him, at least there'd be someone to help shoulder the family's burden. So Michael tried to get close to me, but I didn't give him a single chance. After discussing among themselves, the Scott family decided to take the next step. They started scheming again. Sophie and Ryan, those two little wolves in sheep's clothing, began tailing me. They tracked my movements, waiting for me to be alone. I noticed them more than once, sneaking behind me. But I knew what they were planning. I knew exactly what kind of people they were. Devious, ungrateful, and utterly without shame. If they were following me, it was because they were preparing some nasty trick. Up until now, I'd only given Michael a small taste of what I was truly capable of. But if they wanted to walk into the trap themselves, then I'd happily play along. so I pretended not to notice them. In fact, I even gave them an opportunity. That night, the village was screening a movie. I deliberately went out late to see it, making sure I'd appear alone. It was the perfect setup. Sure enough, Sophie and Ryan immediately ran to tell Michael. As I passed the reed field on my way, Michael suddenly leapt out and grabbed me. Seeing that he'd caught me off guard, Sophie and Ryan ran off to get Linda. Linda, in her usual loud voice, started shouting Michael's name all over the village, saying, "Michael went to the reeds tonight. Catch fish." Linda Chen cried out in panic, fearing that Michael had fallen into the river. She sobbed and begged the neighbors to help look for him. As much as everyone despised the Scott family, a human life was no small matter, so a crowd followed, led by Linda, Sophie and Ryan, charging toward the reed field. Long before they got there, Linda raised her voice. "Michael, Michael, where are you? I think I saw his clothes in the reeds." Following her frantic shouting, the crowd pushed aside the thick reeds. But when they finally saw what was in front of them, every eye widened in shock. Some let out sharp screams. The bolder ones instinctively took several steps back. What the hell is this?" Still pushing through the crowd, Linda hadn't seen anything yet. Judging by everyone's reactions, she assumed they'd caught Michael and me in the act. Smiling gleefully, she squeezed forward. "Michael." Her voice cut off the scene before her, stunned her into silence. No, this can't be." Sophie and Ryan pushed up behind her, too small to see through the crowd. Anxious, they cried out, "Mom, what's happening? Say something. Wrong with Big Brother? Is he hurt?" Someone replied, "He's hurt." Ryan and Sophie were confused. That didn't make sense. Michael was a grown man. I was just a woman. He shouldn't have gotten hurt. If that lesser old Lee could overpower Lily Wu so easily, Michael should have had no problem handling me. But just as they were puzzling over it, Linda suddenly broke down in an ear-piercing, "Will, my son, somebody helped my son." Michael was being carried out of the reeds, completely unconscious. His clothes were mostly intact, but he wasn't wearing pants. Under the flashlight's glare, it was obvious one of his legs was mangled, flesh shredded, skin barely clinging on, blood everywhere. He was rushed to the town hospital that same night and later transferred to the county hospital. They couldn't save his leg. It had to be amputated. And that wasn't the worst of it. During the exam, doctors discovered that one of his testicles had been crushed permanently. He would never be a real man again. Of course, I didn't let him off easy. This was 2 lifetimes worth of hatred. In our previous life, Michael plotted against me. I hated him to my core. If he had simply chosen to live quietly in this life, I might not have found a chance to strike back. But his family was too vile, too persistent. They wouldn't stop until they dragged me down with them. In my past life, I had been foolish. I gave him my body, my labor, my everything. Without a name, without dignity, just so his family could treat me like a slave. And in this life, he had gone insane. He wanted to force himself on me again this time. In public, in front of everyone. He wanted to destroy me. Well, fine. If that was what he wanted, I'd give it to him. I'm not the kind of person who lets things go. If Michael wanted to die, I'd help him along. When he jumped out and grabbed me in the reed field, I didn't make a sound. I didn't struggle. He thought I still had feelings for him. He even started whispering sweet nonsense, trying to coax me. "Jody, it's always been you. I never liked Lily. She's the one who kept clinging to me." I stayed silent. He thought I believed him. His hands started trembling with excitement as he rushed to take off his pants, clearly intending to force himself on me. But I moved first, calmly, precisely. With one move, I grabbed and twisted him into submission. His face twisted in pain, and he blacked out immediately. Then I picked up the heavy stone I had hidden earlier, and brought it down on his leg again and again. Hatred fueled my strength. I kept smashing until I was certain the leg was broken beyond repair. Only then did I toss the rock into the water, wipe my hands and quietly leave. So when Linda, Sophie and Ryan arrived with the others, all they found was Michael, unconscious, soaked in blood. As for me, I was never there. The news that Michael had lost a leg and become a cripple spread fast. Linda fainted several times at the hospital and cried herself hoarse. She clung to every person in sight, wailing that someone had hurt her precious son. They wanted to call the police. But in the end, Linda Chen didn't go through with it. Sophie and Ryan stopped her. Those two little wolves in sheep's clothing couldn't let her make that call, because if the police investigated, they wouldn't walk away clean. Michael would be arrested and charged with attempted rape, while I, at worst, would be accused of excessive self-defense. They didn't want this to blow up. After weighing the consequences with Linda, she broke into a cold sweat. After all, Michael was an adult, but Sophie and Ryan were still minors. If it came to court, Michael would absolutely go to prison. Linda didn't want the police poking around, uncovering the truth about the trap they had set. For me, she had no choice but to abandon the idea of pressing charges. 3 days later, Michael finally regained consciousness. When he learned he'd lost his leg and was now a cripple, he passed out again from the shock. When he woke up, he went into a full-blown meltdown. He shouted and thrashed, but Sophie and Ryan pinned him down, while Linda covered his mouth and tried to calm him. "Son, we didn't mean for it to turn out like this," she said tearfully. "That wicked Jody, she's heartless. We won't let her get away with this. Just wait and see, we'll get revenge." Sophie and Ryan chimed in to console him. "Big brother, revenge is a dish best served cold. We'll help you get her back, just hang in there for now." And so the idea of going to the police was buried. By the time Michael was discharged from the hospital, a full month had passed. Things that the Scott household had only gotten worse. Michael was now disabled. He couldn't work. All the chores fell on Linda, Sophie, and Ryan. Days blurred together in exhaustion. Then the college entrance exams came and went. Neither Michael nor Lily Wu were eligible to take them anymore. Not long after, it was time for Sophie and Ryan to start elementary school. But if they went to school, who would do the work at home? Linda couldn't manage everything alone, and Michael was completely useless now. So just like that, their dreams of education were shattered. They could only stand at the edge of the schoolyard, watching other kids carrying their school bags inside. Their hearts burned with jealousy and hate. They hated me, hated that I wasn't the same pushover I was in the last life. Hated that I refused to be their mule anymore. Whenever the Scotts looked at me, their eyes were like blades. If they could, they would have torn me to pieces. Too bad for them, there was nothing they could do. They couldn't fight me, couldn't talk me. They had no power over me now. Time passed quickly, 3 years flew by. I turned 23. Sophie and Ryan were 10. They still hadn't gone to school. Every day they labored in the fields. Beside Linda, faces turned to the sun, backs bent toward the soil. The Scott family had become the poorest household in the village. Their debts were still sky high. Their chores never ended. Their lives were tighter than ever. Then one morning, disaster struck again. Linda went up the mountain to gather firewood and fell into a ditch. Just like Michael, she lost a leg. When I heard the news, I was at home happily preparing for my wedding. I was getting married to a young soldier from the neighboring village. He came from a good family, just one sister, kind and honest parents. After meeting once, we both felt the connection. Things progressed quickly from there. My parents didn't even ask for a bride price. In fact, they gave me a generous dowry. In the days leading up to the wedding, I stayed home, busy organizing my trousseau. When I heard what had happened to Linda, I was stunned for a moment. And then I laughed. In the last life, Linda had broken her leg too. I had assumed that, given the chance to start over, she'd be more careful. Turns out, even with a second chance, she couldn't change her fate. Now the Scott household had two disabled people. Sophie and Ryan had no choice but to give up their education dreams for good. They had to shoulder the responsibilities of adulthood. A few days before my wedding, I went into town to buy the last of my dowry. On my way back, I ran into Sophie and Ryan. They were carrying bundles of firewood, their faces drenched in sweat. Both of them were pale and gaunt, dressed in ragged, patched clothes. When our eyes met, theirs were filled with deep, bitter hatred. Smiled sweetly at them. "So how does it feel?" I asked, tilting my head. "Wasn't last time around just as exhausting?" "Feels worse than death, doesn't it?" asked, smiling. The moment I said that, Sophie and Ryan's faces went pale and perfect unison. You came back too," they stammered. "That's right. Came back just like you." I grinned at them. "You two heartless little monsters. In our last life I gave everything for you. And how did you treat me in return? Did a dog eat your conscience?" They couldn't respond. Their mouths opened but no words came out. Their silence was the best answer. "In the last life, because of me, you had good food, warm clothes, the chance to go to school, even the chance to leave this miserable village. And in this life, without me, let's see if you can change your fate on your own." Watching their faces turn red with shame and rage, I added another jab, my voice syrupy sweet. "So far it doesn't look like it. After all, you've got two crippled people at home to take care of. Oh, by the way, how are you liking the gifts I sent to you?" Their expressions changed. Instantly, they finally realized. "So what happened to my brother?" "It was your plan," Ryan asked. "Yep," I said lightly. "Why? Was that not allowed?" "You're a monster," Sophie cried. "What did he do to deserve that?" I met her glare with one of my own. "Oh, you really think I didn't know what your family did to me in the last life?" I sneered. "Do you want to know how your whole family died last time?" I set the fire. "It was me." Both of them froze. "That's right. After you refused to help me, after I had nowhere left to go. I saw Michael and Lily alive and well. I was about to die, so why would I let you people live? I waited until your whole family was gathered together and then sent you all straight to hell." I laughed out loud in their stunned silence. "Ever since I came back, I swore I'd make you all suffer a fate worse than death. So far, Michael, Lily, and Linda have all gotten exactly what they deserve. That just leaves the two of you." Their faces turned ashen. What are you going to do?" Ryan asked, voice trembling. "I already told you," I said, my voice calm. "I'm going to let you live. But in a way that makes you wish you were dead. And guess what? It's your turn next." With that, I turned and walked away, laughing as I left them standing there, terrified, speechless, and looking at each other in horror. They were so scared after that day. They became like jittery little animals, constantly on edge, looking over their shoulders, always afraid I'd strike at any moment. But I didn't. Because the person who was coming for them next wasn't me. It was Lily Wu, dear sister-in-law, Lily, the one they had set up and betrayed. I told Old Lay everything about what Ryan and Sophie had done to Lily. He passed the news to her. Lily couldn't return to the city. She was stuck in the countryside now. And she was filled with resentment. She hated Ryan and Sophie with every fiber of her being. And Lily wanted revenge. But the worst kind of revenge isn't death. It's leaving someone alive to suffer. So Lily got creative. She knocked Sophie unconscious and poured boiling water on her face, disfiguring her forever. Then she went after Ryan. She blinded one of his eyes and chopped off 4 of his fingers. The entire Scott family had become disabled, each and every one of them. Broken, miserable, dependent on each other just to survive. And while their lives spiraled into pain and despair, I was radiant in my wedding dress. I married the soldier from the neighboring village, the one my parents had carefully chosen for me. He was a wonderful man. His parents, too. were kind and generous, and even his younger sister treated me with warmth. 1 year after we married, I followed my husband as he was stationed with the military. He rose through the ranks quickly, and eventually we moved to the city. I brought my in-laws, my parents, and my sister-in-law with me. As for the Scotts and Lilywu, I never asked again. I never cared to. I had my loving soldier husband. I had obedient, beautiful children. My life was full of happiness and peace. Whether the Scotts were dead or alive, it no longer mattered to me at all. Thank you for taking the time to read this story. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, like and share in the comments. Remember, history is a witness to the past, a light of truth, a living memory, a teacher of life, a messenger of antiquity, and see you soon.